Well, as the Republicans gear up for tomorrow's big debate ahead of the South Carolina primary, the candidates who will be on that stage are ramping up their attacks on frontrunner Donald Trump. Ted Cruz releasing a scathing new ad. Have you seen it? It hits the real estate mogul on eminent domain and accuses Donald Trump of having a, quote, pattern of sleaze, his word, not mine, going back decades.
Trump bankrolled politicians to steamroll the little guy. A pattern of sleaze stretching back decades. Worse, Trump still supports eminent domain today.
Do you support taking private property for private use?
I am for that. Eminent domain is wonderful.
Yes, we have to use the power of eminent domain.
Trump uses power for personal gain. Imagine the damage he could do as president.
And Jeb Bush, for his part, appears to have found a sense of purpose as the anti-Trump. Last night on Greta, the former Florida governor slammed the real estate mogul as a bully and as divisive as President Obama.
Well, he bullies everybody. He pushes people around like we're all, you know, just parts of his little domain. We're not. We're running for president of the United States. I'm the only guy standing up to him. That Donald Trump may not like the fact that I'm going after him. That's just tough luck. I mean, he disparages people.
And that's not all. Monday on the campaign trail, former President George W. Bush will stump for this brother in South Carolina for the first time this season, a state he won as a candidate back in 2000, and that is getting this reaction from Donald Trump last night at a rally in Louisiana. Watch.
He's bringing his brother in now. He tried the mother, who's a very nice lady, I'm sure, but he tried the mother. That didn't work out so good. Now he's bringing in his brother. We got in quicksand. I was against the war in Iraq. We have to be given credit for vision. I was against the war in Iraq because I said you're going to totally destabilize the Middle East, and that's exactly what happened.
All right, so let's unpack this in the order in which I showed it to you. So we're going to start with this Ted Cruz ad. And, you know, if you drill down on the numbers, Ted Cruz is pretty famous for how data sensitive his campaign is. So it's probably not an accident that they're going to hit him on certain things in his advertising.
Well, that's a withering ad, and I think that he saw recognition in Donald Trump's eyes in the last debate that that issue really bothered him personally, and that he didn't really have a satisfactory answer with regard to eminent domain. And a lot of conservatives and a lot of Americans are upset about the notion of eminent domain, that one person or one company can take your property for their own use, for their own commercial use. And so in Atlantic City, the issue was he wasn't building a bridge or a hospital, as he talked about, or the Keystone Pipeline, but a parking lot for a luxury stretch limousines. So what we're seeing now is Ted Cruz and others coming a little bit late to the party in terms of bashing Donald Trump at this particular stage. But this is going to be American Gladiators meet Spartacus meet Thunderdome. Not everybody's coming out of this arena.
Gibson.
All over the place.
There's a lot of people there.
Kirk Douglas, too.
All right, so you could go back and forth on this idea of eminent domain. You could, and you've seen Donald Trump defend it and so on and so forth. But really what they're doing is they're hitting him on whether or not he's a real conservative. Club for Growth, who does some of these ads, that's been the thing. And that's what Ted Cruz, I mentioned those numbers. Maybe there's something in the numbers. There's got to be a reason for why they're drilling down. They did it right before Iowa, Jillian.
The other really interesting thing to look at here in South Carolina is going to be Rubio and Cruz. And I think part of the Cruz attacking Donald Trump is not so much about his policy differences and particular differences with Donald Trump, but trying to emerge victorious in this battle. He's got the sideshow battle he's got going on with Marco Rubio to avoid coming in fourth place, because I think the Rubio and Cruz campaigns both realize that fourth place here might be a death knell for either one of them.
So, Andrea, none of this seems to ever matter to those core supporters of Donald Trump, but there's that lot out there. Right, those undecideds, that's open game. That's what Cruz and Rubio are hoping to go for. Because it seems like you can run whatever ads you want. They tried it in Iowa. He still came in second.
Well, yeah, and that's the best point. So if we look at this historically, and I don't mean in past elections, because this candidate, Donald Trump, is unlike any other candidate we've ever seen before. Let's go back to Iowa. Same ads, harsh ads, millions of dollars spent attacking him in a state with a lot of evangelicals, like, say, South Carolina. When you look at the numbers, 53% of supporters, Harris, made their mind up about Donald Trump in states like Iowa and New Hampshire 1 month before and didn't budge. And he was able to garner some of those independents you talk about. So these attacks don't work. I mean, if eminent domain is the #1 issue to South Carolinians or folks in Nevada, then perhaps, but they haven't worked in this election before. So I'm not inclined to believe that this time around Trump supporters are going to jump ship. And some people, I think these undecideds, also realize something inherently, that Donald Trump isn't a pure conservative, but on issues that matter to the party. Really, some people, they have issues that matter to them. Immigration, refugees, building a wall, all these things, those issues count. They see them as more important than, say, eminent domain. Donald Trump is their guy. So it doesn't matter that he has more liberal positions on other things. It's astounding to watch. It's astounding to watch, but it's real.
Real, and probably going to be consistent if he decides then to do something else that we saw him do. So he sees this ad come out by Ted Cruz. He also has a pretty mean one. He pulls it. Why do that? You're a strategist. Why do that?
Why does Donald Trump pull it?
Yeah.
Well, because for all the reasons that Andrea just pointed out, you're so right. Donald Trump doesn't need to attack anybody any more than he already does. He does it in a very sort of snarky way as an aside. But these guys are all competing to be the anti-Trump. Now you've got Ted Cruz, who wasn't really competing to be the anti-Trump before, now competing to be Trump. You're so right. He's got his core group of supporters. They're not budging. Everybody else is fighting over the remainder. The way to stop Donald Trump, the only way to stop Donald Trump, is if everybody but one gets out, and it's Donald Trump versus the anti-Trump. But right now, the rest of them are sitting here dividing and conquering the anti-Trump support. And if they keep doing it, through Florida and Super Tuesday and then Florida, it's going to be too late to stop Donald Trump. So if Jeb Bush, Freudian slip, really wants to get Donald Trump out of the White House and out of the possibility of being the Republican standard bearer, he should get out and throw his support. Rubio should get out and throw their support either to Ted Cruz or however they do it. Of course, none of them will. But Andrea's right. Trump's people aren't going anywhere.
Well, and what I'm reading is that the bottom for Trump, at the very least, would be 25%. That means 75% for everybody to fawn over and fight over and whatever. So that's part of why they're not getting out. But we've seen him even best that in the last couple of caucuses and primaries, obviously. I did want to get this in and just get your thoughts. So he pulled an ad, so did Cruz, but for a very different reason. I don't want to make too big of a deal out of this, but the vetting process can be tough. Apparently, there was a former pornography actress who was in Ted Cruz's, and they've already apologized and so on and so forth, although she tweeted and didn't understand why they pulled the ad. Anyway, moving on.
But it's a circular firing squad that we have going on with these so-called anti-Trump candidates going forward. And the longer that goes on, the more that Donald Trump loves it, eats it up. And we've seen, and you're talking about
why does that work? Why is that?
Because there's a faith and belief
everybody else
system.
Who gets ganged up on, it punches in every direction, and it doesn't work.
You can kill Donald Trump in a debate. It doesn't matter. He'll win the debate based on the popular opinion. People say, yeah, Donald Trump won that debate, but he didn't know about this. He didn't know what the nuclear triad was. He doesn't have a plan to remove all the Mexican aliens that he wants to remove. He doesn't have a plan on this. He doesn't know about this. Yeah, I love Trump. I believe in Trump. I'm sick of these politicians. I trust Trump. I don't trust these people. So reason, logic, partisanship, conservative values, they don't mean a blessed thing.
Or they mean less this time around, as Andrea pointed out.
No, they mean nothing.
You have a White House. You have a White House that is allowing sailors to surrender. That was clearly ordered to do something that is unprecedented in history. Voters see that and they say, this is a bigger issue to us. Our country is slipping away, and the Republican Party is worried about, one, a pipeline, and attacking Donald Trump for not being a true conservative. That is not the issue at hand. That's the wrong question to ask. People know that he's not, and they don't care because they see him as someone who can stand up for the country. And Peter, you're right. The longer they kill each other and refuse to get out, a lot of these candidates, they're only helping him ascend to the nomination.
But big dividends get paid out to whoever prevails as the anti-Trump. Whoever gets to take that card, has a seat at the table, gets headlines, they get coverage. We've seen multiple candidates go through that process. So,
but by dividends, you mean cash too, don't you?
Well, I mean the whole.
You see, the big donors are sitting back because you have still establishment candidates who are fighting over some things, and then Cruz, who might not necessarily check that box. So they're holding on to their cash. By those dividends, you mean that money.
But to Peter's point, you raise an excellent point. What you have going on with Trump is exactly what you have going on the Democratic side with Sanders. People may understand that he's not getting anywhere, but they love what they're hearing, and they don't care how he's going to get there. They just want to believe that he's going to get there.
Well, we talked about this a little yesterday. They also like the messenger in both those cases.
And they do, and Donald Trump's got to get America rich, quick plan, and no one else does at this point. And they don't know how to counter it.
And Trump and Sanders are, they're the big vision candidates.
The last word.